Well, it was a long time ago. It was 30 years ago, and I was approached by uh, Christina Kochel of Martina Enterprises, and she was the president of ICBA at the time, which was really a small fledgling kind of organization. I met her through my stint at Mechanical Contractors Association, and she asked me to organize some events because I got laid off at MCA. It was a bit of a downturn. She asked me to organize some events, and then eventually she asked me to take over ICBA. I didn't realize that they really had no money. Um, I think they barely had enough money in the bank to pay my salary. So uh, when I've been headhunted subsequent to that, I've always asked for their financial statements because once, twice shy. But frankly, they never missed a payroll, and the organization just grew and flourished at a time when the kind of leadership I was able to provide was important to the open shop sector. When I first started, it was just me. I mean, I was stuffing envelopes, answering phones, had my kids stuff envelopes. It was definitely a grassroots kind of organization. So that was one thing. Not having a lot of resources is always a challenge. Um, and there wasn't a lot of acceptance of the open shop sector, right? This was back in the late 80s when the trade union movement, the building trade unions still dominated the industry and were bullies about it. And were tied into every committee and group, and every organization was struggling with the growing open shop sector. The VRCA at the time was struggling between open and closed shop. And getting acceptance as an organization was a bit of a challenge. And then figuring out how to achieve that, which was the recognition and stature that we have today. It was like a 30-year overnight success, really, but it was a challenge. The way I like to characterize it, when I first started, they barely let me into the room. I had to stay in the back of the room. Eventually, I was allowed into the room. And then today we're really at the front of the room or at the head table as people seek out our advice. So acceptance and was really the biggest challenge for the open shop sector and for the organization that represents them. The first open shop conference that we partnered with our friends in Merritt, Alberta, Stephen Kushner, I think that was one of the highlights. It was, I've never been to a conference that was tense. This was a pretty tense thing. We had a few hundred picketers outside. The labor minister from Alberta had to be brought in through a back door. Whether she was going to come or not come was a big debate. So it was quite an accomplishment. I think the Vancouver Sun actually sent a reporter to cover it. That's when the newspaper business had money, I suppose. And it was it was quite the event. So that was a big one. I think the fight in Port Alberni when McMillan Bloedel wanted to bring in an open shop contractor to do an expansion of their pulp mill there, T&L Construction. That was a watershed moment as well. I remember going to a lot of meetings with McMillan Bloedel, with T&L. It was quite the struggle, and again, I think you've seen pictures of the threats and the workers being chased by union thugs. I don't know any other name for them, and they. That has no place here. Anyways, we persevered, and the open shop sector, and now the industrial market is as open to the open shop sector as the commercial, institutional, and residential market is. We had our 40th anniversary celebration last year, and that was a time for reflection. I remember standing backstage when they were running some of the films before I went out, and I was standing next to Peter Gall, the lawyer that the open shop construction community uses all the time. And I said, boy, Peter, we really did achieve a lot. And he said, yeah, we did, right? And, you don't, you don't look to, what's my next achievement? I don't think. I never did. I said, what's the battle at hand? What do we need to do? How do we serve our members properly? And then you just go do it. And I think that was so the 40th anniversary one was did help bring some perspective to the thing. I should add this, that the other big thing that was important to the ICBA was the bringing in of our Hour Bank health plan. It was a health plan suited specifically for the construction industry, the open shop sector. The open shop sector was just starting. They were looking for services that they were familiar with, and this Hour Bank health plan was that. And that really provided the foundation for ICBA and the resources for ICBA to go do the things that we had to go do.